your most powerful ability in the game acquired, the run is going to get quite a bit more crazy very soon.
Absolutely massive, Toadette. Grips just took a few deaths getting sent back to that safety station.
I heard you guys like lore, right? Well, we have go fast left, we have go fast up with enemy, we have go fast down, and now we have go fast up without enemy. Charge jump acquired.
And welcome everyone for the Ori and the Blind Forest 2022 tournament, All Skills tournament. This is the round of 16, a match between Cheese and Infinite. I will be your host today. I'm Atsugami, and I will be commentating the match with OG.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here. Always looking forward to doing some commentary for All Skills, especially ones that are, at a decent time for me. So obviously, first of all, we've got a Cheese Lover. His current PB is a 29.53. That was a couple of years ago, but he has been putting up a couple of times close to that PB. He'll be running on KBM, which is obviously different to the input that Infinite will be doing. So, Abso, can you tell me a little bit more about Infinite?
Yeah, Infinite is a very good player who PB'd yesterday, so his new PB is a 29. He's played quite a few Ori category, and something very interesting about him is that he's a hybrid player, meaning he plays controller and KBM on the same run. So he mainly plays controller and use KBM for some very specific tricks, like, well, the first Frankie fight, doing double bash in some places, game storage, these kind of little tricks that are very much easier on KBM. And well, there's not much to say about it. Infinite is just a very, very good Ori player.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, something to speak about with his double bashes, he's actually using a right stick method where he's utilizing basically the snapback of the stick to input the bash input twice. So instead of, scrolling for that as well, he's just going to flick the right stick to get some debashes, which is pretty consistent for him.
Does this involve manipulating the dead zone of the stick?
It might. It depends on how bad it is. Different controllers have varying different sort of strength of snapback. I guess some of them are pretty atrocious, and others are all right. So just having a look at the bracket here, the winner of this race is going to be going up against Dedu and Cleanfell. So that will be an interesting race. So what are your thoughts on this upcoming race, Abso?
The race that's coming, well, Infinite seems to be the favorites because of, well, yesterday he PB'd. He's been extremely consistent throughout the qualifiers with an average of 29.46 and a best time of 29.40. So he's been playing very, very good, very, very well on pretty much every single race, while Cheese Lover was a little bit less consistent with an average of 31.40, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Infinite is expected to win, but you never know what might happen on a punishing game like Ori and the Blind Forest. A single
Yeah, of
mistake could be
course.
fatal.
Yeah, I mean, the last time that I was commentating one of Cheese races, I think there was like a combined 17 door attempts between Cheese and Tritonite. So, anything can happen really in Ori, especially if it's close coming into late game. It's really a coin flip as to what can happen.
Yeah, definitely. And well, the race has started now. They're both aiming to get their first ability. That's, well, Spirit Flame, that we usually call Sign because, well, that's the name of that little blue ball that's following Gori. Yes, I just said blue ball.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
at least there's only one and not two. But yeah, I mean, sign is pretty useless in this game, right? Like, you press the button and it's just like, oh yeah, there's a speck of dust. Like, that's the enemy that you wanted to attack, right? Right?
I
So
mean, Infinite is a master of signless, patchless, tauntless, so he doesn't need sign when playing this game. Why would he even pick it here?
yeah, I mean, we have had runners, in the past do like an SBS start to a race. I certainly wouldn't be doing anything like that in such a close, potentially close race or one that we're expecting to be so close. It does look like Infinite does have, like maybe a jumps lead at this stage, but going to wall jump, like going through BRB, none of this time save really matters. And in fact, just as I was talking, Cheese Lover has now, regained the lead.
Yeah, Blades is quite a bit of a hell of micro optimization. So, well, one player may take a little bit of a lead on the first split if he gets his movements right. Looks like Cheese has been better on this point for the moment, so this is not very important currently, but it's still a little bit of a lead that can be important later.
Yeah, and not only is there just like a stupid amount of micro optimizations, like we've seen that, with some of the top runners in the tournament just, gaining massive leads for, seemingly no reason, just like out of the blue during blades, but it can also just be lag central. So hopefully not too much, nothing too bad happens to these two runners, and it both seems to be pretty smooth on the way in. Infinite's slightly caught back up, but it looks like they'll both be pretty equal wall jump.
Both players are playing 4 HP, so they're doing, well, very similar routes, if not exactly the same. Flower
Yeah.
skip here from Infinite, pretty cool. Cheese took the HP from the flower, I guess he didn't have enough XP when he went down. And both are
Well,
reaching wall jump now.
the thing is, he already leveled up. So
Oh, I missed
yeah,
it.
so Cheese leveled up at like the at the top spore wall. So even though he's slightly ahead now, actually no, he's slightly behind rather. He's going to be even further behind, as he's going to have to kill these brambles on the way back up. This is why we use that timed level up either on the way down or on the way up, because sign, like base sign, is pretty slow. Trust me, I'm a magnet player. It takes forever to kill anything, and this slime rather is also going to be in an annoying spot.
Alright, looks like it's still fine. He successfully just went up, took a little bit of a disadvantage over his opponent, a few seconds here and there. But, well,
Yeah,
everything is going okay still for Cheese. Don't know
yeah,
how many HP he still
everything's
has.
fine. Yeah, I think he's on one or two
Even
health at this point. It's turns out that he made a good decision in not doing the insta drop on the way down. Otherwise, that damage that he took would have definitely been deathly. We did see Infinite go for the insta drop and then have to damage boost his way back through the elbow. And both of our runners now are approaching the best area in the video game. Absolutely,
will
can you
love
tell me
this area.
more about everyone's favorite zone? Where we just
Well,
spend so much time.
it's Blackroot Burrows, like Infinite just
That's
entered, Cheese is entering too by taking an ability and skipping a cutscene. Blackroot Burrows is this very dark area with a few light spots here and there showing you the way to, well, continue the inside the area. It's full of spikes that can, well, deal 2 or 3 damage depending on where you are. And, well, we've been improving this area a lot recently, doing some pretty awful things that nobody really wants to do. Well, to say the truth, nobody likes this place. It's like a reset fest with the lasers, the cycles, everything is very awful here.
Yeah, it looks like both of our runners as well are getting a little bit trolled by that orb drop. Just taking about 500,000 years for this orb to drop. up near the spider and the XP. Doesn't look like Infinite is going to get a super fast cycle. It is a cycle. It's maybe not the fast cycle. It looks like Cheese is getting a similar cycle.
Yeah, both are aiming for the same cycles, not going for some crazy fast threats that can be a bit damaging if you, like, I don't know, die on a laser, fall down to the bottom of BRB.
Who would do that?
Indeed, good idea.
Yeah.
Playing safe
Yeah, no.
here.
Yeah, so I mean, doesn't look like either of our runners are going through and doing some of the new strats that have recently been found. Cheese is about a full cycle behind. So that's approximately, as Rin claimed the other day, one Ori standard unit. So about 8 seconds. And we'll see if there's going to be any difference in strat with this cutscene stack. Infinite is going to place his save closer to the tree. And it looks like Cheese is doing one of the older cutscene stacks. So I'm not entirely sure exactly how much time this loses in comparison to the one that Infinite's doing, but I know that it's probably in the realm of 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah, probably 4 seconds, maybe a little bit more since he did the faster stack. But he'll be doing the blind movements now, getting out. Oh, he missed a stack. Oh,
yeah, all those cutscene stacks that I was just talking about, looks like I was just lying to your face. So sorry about that one. Neither of our runners successfully gained the cutscene stack. There's about a 6-second difference between the two runners at the moment, but obviously everybody's favourite Frankie and speedrunning legend Billy Mitchell can always screw things up for our runners.
Looks like none of them tried this new strat found recently by Tachi on the Frankie Manip. Well, I don't think I would try it on a tournament either, but hey, who knows, maybe you can try. Both are playing Magnet here on the Flunky Walk, so it's pretty much free for both of them.
Yep, Infinite getting it successfully, and Cheese as well. One of the annoying things about Ori, like especially when we get through to Felder a little bit later, is some things just look like, the two runners are super close, but things just take forever. So even though it looked like Cheese had really caught up, that door opening just takes about 5 years. Cheese also going for Death Glide there, so he's saved a little bit of time versus just Spirit Flaming all of those spores on the wall. I think when I timed it, sort of about 5 seconds, and Infinite screws up God Cycle, and so does Cheese. So we're both going to just have a nice relax here, waiting for Crush Cycles. Yeah.
Keeping
I mean, you wouldn't want to
not doing God Cycle like obviously.
Yeah. I mean, like, you wouldn't want to like gain some sort of advantage over your, the other runner in like a race. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. Cheese not quite getting the sort of insta death on the spider shot there. Loses a little bit of time dashing over to the Frankie. But this race is really still neck and neck.
Movements here, so saving when picking the tree and doing a few movements. Yeah, we've seen everything they did. That was pretty well executed, I think. Yeah. And Infinite kinda missed his, well, later blind movement, so he ended up taking first the damage and then getting, losing a bit of time on the spikes. So Cheese got up a few seconds here, which is pretty nice. Still very much neck and neck, going for the Grotto escape here. Cheese doing it very well. First try, Infinite for third try. No baguette jump on either side. And skipping the little cutscene to cancel the rocks falling down here.
Yeah, little known fact, Grotto Skip is actually the first escape sequence in this game. You obviously have Ginso Escape, which we're going to skip. We have Forlorn Escape, which we're also going to skip. And then we have the Final Escape, which both runners will hopefully be doing in around 20 minutes time. But we're seeing some pretty clean wall jumping from both of our runners here, and it looks like Cheese with those fewer grotto skip attempts has pretty much caught back up.
Yeah, he took the lead for a few seconds there, but Infinite has such a great execution. He has taken the lead right after that, just climbing the walls faster. And climbing the walls in this area is pretty god-awful. The walls are exactly how they're drawn. So, well, sometimes you get these little places on the wall where you can jump, you can do anything. The game just looks at you and say, what are you going to do? And you're crying on the side of the room, watching Ori
And
refusing to jump.
yeah, I mean, there's no wall here, so what are you going to do? Like, this is Blind Forest, not Will of the Wisps. You know, you actually have to, God forbid, touch a wall to jump off it. Who would have thought? Both of our runners making our way up to this Terror Break cell, so there's going to be no Sea Juggle here. And if one of our runners does do Sea Juggle, then they're going to have a backup if anything occurs. Neither catching the Grotto God Cycle either on the way back, so both of our runners are just going to be making their way up to the Ginso tree and doing a quick rekindle skip.
Both players are still doing back and forth. Cheese now in the lead. Infinite just behind him. There's just little mistakes on the execution that allows one player or the other to retake the lead. So they're making this race very interesting and very close for us, which is pretty nice from them. We know that both are watching the restream, so they are kind of writing the script as they go in order to make this interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the interesting things about watching the restream instead of watching like literally just the opponent, because obviously then you can see exactly where your times are. Looks like Cheese is going for the upper route here, which is slightly slower, so that's going to result in yet another lead change. But really. Oh, and there's actually going to be no Asthma Cycle from Cheese either, so Infinite definitely pulling ahead a little bit as we go into Scrollfest, aka Ginso Mini Boss. Looks like there's about a 5-second difference between the two runners at this stage. Both of our runners are going to be, disgustingly utilizing a scroll wheel instead of, actually pressing a button to result in an input being sent to the game. I don't know, I'm just a controller runner, what would I know about these things? And it looks like Cheese is actually caught up entirely, so he would have had one less cycle for this, because it looked like he got into the room slightly later than Infinite. Both of our runners making their way through now. It's an interesting damage boost from Cheese. Looks like he won't be able to do a damage boost here. And both of our runners now are just they're just making their way into the bash tree.
A nice hyperspeed from Cheese here, reaching the tree a little bit faster than Infinite, but still he was slightly behind, so he still, like 2 seconds behind Infinite, which is a pretty good performance. And we can watch player now using Bash, this new ability that allows you to just use projectiles, lantern enemies to just throw Ori on one side and throw the enemy or whatever you are bashing on the other side. And yeah, Ginso 3 has been very close up until now, very interesting. This place is like one of the best places in the game since you've got fights, something people who played Ori are often complaining about. Oh, there's no fights in Ori, Hollow Knight is better. But look, there are 2 very interesting fights in this area. We'll see the second one very soon once Infinite finishes the key duping strat and opening the door here.
I mean, it's a great place to reset. I don't know about the rest of it. We probably skipped the best place. Yeah, fights are pretty hard, that's why I play Blind Forest and not Will of the Wisps. I just can't cope, can't cope with fighting things. So it looks like Infinite has made short work of of the mini boss, neither of our runners are going to lose 20 frames from doing a debash here, as they both have magnet, so we'll be able to collect of the XP from that mini boss, which they will need later for another mini boss that we can actually kill this time.
Looks like an 8 seconds difference here. One entire teleport animation, which is one standard Ori unit.
Exactly.
More.
I feel like we
Infinite
should get
one.
on to SI and see if we can make this like a standard metric unit. Like
Yeah,
the
it's
standard
definitely
unit of
possible.
time. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
who
I mean, you're
needs-
French, right? Like you can do that. Have you got
Yeah,
contacts
I
there?
can definitely go to Paris on the BIPM office and tell them, no, dude, don't use Cesium to just decide how long a second is. You can use Ori. It's much more
Yeah.
consistent.
Oh, super consistent. But while we were memeing about Ori standard units, both our runners making their way through to Swamp Entry, and Infinite took a super nasty death, which meant that he got sent all the way back. Unfortunately, Cheese dropping a debash there meant that he is also losing a little bit of time. So the gap has sort of widened back up, but Cheese definitely had an opportunity there to regain the lead with the unfortunate death of Infinite. As
He's going
Cheese.
double bash here.
Oh, nice.
Very
Right,
nice.
Cheese, who
Infinite
I
reaching
almost
stomp and
called.
cheese climbing. Sorry.
Cheese, who I almost called Chem, going for a nice swamp hyper speed through there, decides not to go through and do any sort of damage boost or debash method to make his way up to the Stomp Tree, which we saw Infinite do. Infinite is now leaving Swamp, and Cheese is shortly behind him.
Yeah, about a 10 seconds different at Stomp here. Infinite looks very comfortable on his movements since, well, he got all visibility, especially Bash. He's been going quite a bit faster than Cheese on the way towards Stomp. Now he's just rushing towards Cura cutscene. And you're going to ask me what cutscene? Yeah, there's no cutscene here, right?
Yeah, no
Infinite?
cutscene. Infinite.
Yeah, no cutscene here.
No, I don't think Infinite's on the comms. Cheese, his blind movement there, coming up clutch because it looked like he would have just been sniped by a laser had he not done that. There's nothing really to comment about there. It's not like there's a cutscene that both of our runners skipped or anything like that. I thought for a second that Infinite was going to go through and do the long debash chain, but instead he only does one to make his way up. Yeah, just
We're also climbing, not doing the double bash, skipping the little cutscene here with a rekindle while Infinite just takes the tree, eating his kin's souls.
So, and it looks like there's about 15-second difference between our two runners here, maybe 14 seconds. So, definitely still achievable, like, one missed fast stompless shot, one death at Soribash is definitely the difference here. So both our runners are making their way into Valley at this point. This is where, the real big run killers lie. I'm pretty sure that Infinite said that he's going to be swapping out to KBM for fast stompless. So we should expect to see that first try from all that I've heard about, swapping to KBM because there's free time save.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll see how Cheese goes with that trick as well.
Yeah, your control player maybe never heard of this word called precision, and you snipe the rocks with the spider shots using this precision.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard, especially.
I mean, I don't know if you
disappointment, not first try.
I mean, I don't know if you KBM runners have heard anything about skill, and instead you've just got to, utilize visual cues to get all of your tricks done for you, basically automatically. Cheese putting down a safety save there, so if he fails a shot, he can just int straight into some spikes to make his way back up there straight away. Infinite did get his fast stompless eventually, and Cheese does get it first try, so there's a little bit more time that he has caught back up. But as I was mentioning before, this feather cutscene just takes a million years. So even though you think that they're close, they're not as close as you would like them to be.
Yeah, not exactly close. We might think our tracker will give us the time difference, but they should still be pretty close. Like that in console dash here, no reasons would have just brought them back. People. Now we are doing perfect, so they're not going to do crazy things with that rod. And I'm not talking about sexual things. They're just going to get jump out of the frame using the new charge dash, this new ability that goes very fast and cancelling it with a jump, while Cheese Lover just has some unfortunate things happening to him on Sword Dash.
Yeah, looks like Cheese had a hot date with some spikes. You were a little bit of a robogami there, so I wasn't able to quite hear what you're saying about frogs, but I've got a feeling that was for the best for all of us. Cheese does make his way through second try as he's going to collect this cell. Infinite has just collected his charge jump, and he'll be making his way up with the Terror Break, again, to Terror Break this ceiling and make his way up to the Sunstone. We've got a brief high five here between our two runners. It doesn't look like Infinite is going to die again, sending him back to charge jump. But it looks like he's just going to float up, and there's some unfortunate laser cycles. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to just like stomp his way back down there. He's probably going to wait because it's like 4 seconds-ish. If you just have to wait. But if you don't wait, then you get sent right back to Sunstone, so that costs a little bit more. Here we see Cheese doing the same thing with his Terror Break, and those laser cycles do look a little bit better. We'll swap back over to Infinite, and we'll see if he's going to just like 5-head his way down, or if he's just going to feather. Looks like he was going to 5-head his way down, but dropping through platforms is next to impossible in this video game. Unfortunately,
looks like
Infinite.
Misty with Infinite doing defense. My internet is acting up?
Yeah, it looks like we've still got Robogami with us on the co-cast. But that's alright, we can continue it regardless. So we've got Infinite going through a pretty clean, or was pretty clean, Misty until he took some unfortunate damage. Cheese just reverse rocket jumping, meteor kicking his way down, entering Misty now. We'll see if he's got similarly clean movement. Thankfully doesn't just die into those spikes, as speaking of dying, Infinite takes an unfortunate death.
Infinite takes an unfortunate death on this kind of tunnel of spikes here. He used light correctly, but a little bit too late, so had to take this free damage from the spikes.
And it looks like... Yeah, it was... Your internet was better until you said your internet might be not so good anymore. But Cheese has really caught himself back up in this race. Historically, Cheese has had some issues with this Misty mini-boss that we'll see at the end here. As a new commentary challenger approaches.
Hello. Stepping in right here so Robogami can have a bit of a break. Yeah, both runners in the second half of Misty showing off some excellent skill and are going through quite smoothly. I would say maybe 15 seconds difference after all, which is, considering all that has happened in this race, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, having a look at what our lovely tracker Fupio is sending to us. It looks like there was about an 8-second difference at climb. So Cheese has really caught himself back up. Hopefully Infinite won't have too many more painful deaths. If I were to eyeball it, it looks like the gap has slightly widened, but Infinite has to stop here to collect some more energy, as I was once again unfortunately lying to you, as you know, there's clearly no Misty mini-boss here. See if Cheese is able to similarly just like skip this mini-boss.
We get a glimpse at him. Not quite evaporated, but close to it. Gets through Misty as well as Infinite is on the way back, and like, it can't be understated, Infinite took some pretty hefty deaths and is still in the lead. Like, you can see how better his movement just is.
Yeah, Infinite definitely has some cleaner movement. There's been, you know, a little bit more flubs from Cheese, but Cheese's mistakes has been a lot more minor. Like, there have been more mistakes, but they haven't been anywhere near as costly as Infinite's mistakes, which is why this run is still, you know, still sort of hangs in the balance here. You know, it's still definitely anyone's race, especially if we have, you know, some door warp shenanigans.
Yeah, but it should be mentioned that Cheese will likely go for 5 HP, since he doesn't feel like, he is watching the race stream, and he said if he feels like the race is close, he will go for 5 HP. And depending on how comfortable he is about that, that might mean a death in the final escape, for example. But for now, we get to see Infinite picking up grenade gems, and he is doing grenade gems on his controller, so no cheating there, according to OG. And hopefully he can show off some.
But it's fine, you know, you cheat once, might as well cheat a million times. He's actually not going to use any grenade jumps on the way out. This is potentially a space where Cheese Lover can make up a little bit of time rather. Infinite does have a somewhat clean grenade exit. Certainly looks to be a little bit cleaner than Cheese's, but this run is definitely, you know, still hanging in the balance.
Yeah, both are looking to be very close to their PB, especially considering this is a race setting. We are getting some great execution from both runners as we're heading to the final escape on both sides. Oh, Cheese unfortunately missing that jump. It can be quite difficult. Gets it second try though. And we see Infinite skipping that health cell, so we'll also go for the 5 HP swim, so hopefully neither of our runners... Oh! Okay, he gets the satisfying pre-charged grenade jump.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where the time save lies with Controller, and that with the final swim as well. Cheese, unfortunately, cutting his second Stomp Cancel short, isn't going to collect that energy, so we'll see if he has any energy issues sort of at this later half of this split. Infinite not going for skip, doesn't look like, but does have some door warp issues. Does manage to get it though.
That's just typical caster curse, saying yeah there are some issues, immediately gets it afterwards.
Oh damn it.
That just always happens, so let's hope for a clean escape on Infinite's side and some clean door warp attempts for Cheese. But yeah, one death in a final escape can definitely change the race right here, so Infinite needs to be very careful about his movement. Oh!
Fine, the autosave. Door warp autosave coming up clutch. Yeah, it does look like, you know, we're about one death difference at this stage. But it doesn't look like Infinite is going to take much damage. We'll see if the fish cooperate for him. But, you know, we'll see if this goes, all goes swimmingly for him or not.
Yeah, hopefully can get a few, or the grenade jump within a few tries. And indeed gets it first try. GG, animation goes off, no soft block. That means Infinite will move on to the round of 08, and Cheese Lover takes a death to the lava pillar, will get reset. This could still potentially be the closest race we've had in the tournament. I think so far the closest one was 57 seconds or something like, so still in the race for that, for sure, as Infinite just needs to hold right for, well, it looks to be a high 30, so definitely
The run's not finished yet. You never know. You never know what could happen. It's not finished yet. No, okay. So Chase does go through his swimming section without any issues. Looks like, you know, he didn't have to collect that 6th health after all. Almost gets sniped by a falling rock, but does get the grenade jump first try, so it's GG to both of our runners here.
Yeah, GG indeed, and Infinite showing some optimization, it's gotta respect that, whereas she's almost got Sigma rocked. That scared me for a millisecond, but both runners go through excellently, and Infinite, as mentioned before, will face off against the winner of the later match tonight, which is Cleanfell versus Dedu, happening at 7 p.m. UTC. So they will surely, well, I'm not sure if Cheese Lover will watch it, but Infinite will probably scout out his opponent, as we have a 31-37, and with 47 seconds, I do believe that is the closest match so far.
That does look like the closest match by a little bit over, you know, one Ori standard unit. But yes, definitely GG to Infinite coming away with the win this race. Definitely a lot closer than we thought that it was, or you know, that we thought that it could have been, especially given both our runners' PBs and the fact that Infinite, you know, is currently the 28. Well, Brain had a point there, and then I just lost it. So I'll hand it over to you, Jill, before I, you know,
Yeah,
lose more of
I
the
do
plot.
believe you wanted to say he's the gatekeeper for the 27.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. I thought if I stalled, it would come to me, but no chance.
Yeah, it's fine, but we have both runners in for an interview, so we will drag them in and ask them some questions about the run, have a bit of a chat.
Sounds like a
GG.
plan.
GG to both of you, and GG Infinite to winning.
GG.
So I guess I'll start as the you know, the continuous commentator. So both of you had a little bit of spaghetti in the early game leading up to double jump. So I guess I'll start with Cheese as my fellow Oceanian. What were you thinking? You know, like how were the nerves between the early level up and missing the cutscene stack? How are you feeling coming up to double jump tree?
Yeah, I was terrified all the way from the early level up until Blackroot ending. I normally don't do this cutscene stack, so that was fine. It was once I reached lasers, I was good. But yeah, I was just terrified because there was like so much routing and like XP and just everything was thrown off, and I was not having a good time. But luckily I escaped with only a minor time loss, and then I was back to normal, I guess. I didn't really think about it too much after I was back safe to normal.
So I guess I'll sort of hand that same question over to Infinite. Like obviously you were both watching the restream, so you're both aware that, you know, there was similar spaghetti on both sides. But often that doesn't necessarily, you know, reduce your own nerves. So how are you feeling after the early game?
Yeah, it was kind of fine. I miss Growth of Cycle very often, so it was not a huge surprise. And missing the BRB cutscene stack isn't too bad either. At least I don't have to do the blind movement. So it was a time loss, but it wasn't too terrible. I saw Cheese was slightly behind me, which was making me nervous, but it was fine.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. On a more general note, both of you watched the restream and probably saw the back and forth in terms of who was in front and who wasn't in the lead. Did that kind of hit a nerve? Like, were you getting more nervous seeing how close the race was up until, like, Sorrow? Or were you just like, oh, this is my race, okay, this looks good, I can still execute better? Starting with you, maybe, Infinite.
Yeah, it was making me a bit nervous, but also I saw that after all the spaghetti, I was still ahead, so that was a bit less nervous for me. And yeah, I don't regret watching the restream.
Okay, that is at least good. And for you, Cheese, did that influence you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that my early game's better than my late game, and I'd have to at least keep up, which was what I was doing even with the spaghetti. So I was hoping that would make Infinite nervous potentially or whatnot, but I was really as happy as I could be throughout all of that run, except for the death and final escape, because there was delay in the stream, and I knew that he'd have to die, and it'd still be really close, even if I played perfectly. So I think almost everything except for the one Sorobash fail was pretty good, and I was just hoping the pressure would get to him, but it didn't.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, that means you will be out of the tournament. What will we maybe see in the future from you in terms of Ori? Will we maybe see a Rep God performance, maybe? Since you mentioned you are kind of practicing that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that on stream to people, but if there's ever people in a Discord call, I can whip that out, I guess.
Oh,
I guess
cool.
future for me would be potentially maybe want to go back to main quest order for Will of the Wisps, because I don't think I'm ever going to get good enough again to get another sub 30 in Us Noob, so it's just been fun relearning it for the tournament, and I've had a good time.
Yeah, it was definitely fun watching you as well. And for you, Infinite, you will go on into the quarterfinals, into the round best of 3 matches against either Dudu or Cleanfell. Do you kind of have a favorite of the two that you would like to be facing? Do you think one of them has a better chance? And how do you feel about that matchup?
I think most likely Didu will win that match, but I don't have really any favorite.
Okay, then we will be looking forward to that, and I'm sure you will be watching as well. But I do believe that is it for tonight. Or, well, not for tonight, because we have a match later on today, which will be the aforementioned Didu versus Cleanfell, seed number 3 versus seed number 14 on this very channel at 7 p.m. UTC, which is in about 8 hours. So you can do whatever you want to do on the Sunday and then come back and enjoy some more Ori. But yeah, that was it. I jumped in real quick on commentaries, substituting for Abso, whose internet hopefully got a bit better. We had OG on commentary as well. We had Fupio keeping up with the stats, and Lion on the restream handling all of that. So thanks everyone. And we had, of course, Cheese Lover and Infinite putting on a great show. So hopefully see you all later, and hopefully you have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.
Bye.